Why Psychology Matters, Decoding Mind podcast.
Have you ever felt that instant click with someone? Like you just get them immediately.
Absolutely.
But then maybe with someone else, even someone you know really well, it's just a struggle. You can't quite figure them out.
Yeah, or you can't understand why they react the way they do.
Exactly. Or here's another one. Find yourself making the same decision again and again, even when a little voice inside is saying, maybe not this time.
Those patterns we fall into.
Right. These everyday kinds of mysteries, the connections, the disconnects, the choices we make, they all point to something deeper, don't they? Something going on inside our minds.
Definitely. Under the surface.
Well, welcome everyone to The Deep Dive, your shortcut to being well-informed. Today marks the start of something new within the show, a series of deep dives focused squarely on understanding ourselves and, well, each other.
That's right. We're embarking on this exploration of the human mind. We want to ask things like, what really makes us tick? Why do we do the things we do? And crucially, how can digging into this stuff actually lead to, richer, maybe more fulfilling lives?
Yeah.
And we really believe this knowledge, these insights from psychology, they're not just locked away for academics or therapists. Not at all.
Ooh, definitely not.
This perspective, it's for everyone. It's a tool we can all use.
It really is a powerful tool. And so for this very first deep dive in this new series, we're calling it Why Psychology? And we're jumping right into that core question.
Straight to the heart of it.
We've gathered some foundational perspectives, looking at research and articles that really show the breadth, the impact of this field. Our mission here is simple. Understand why psychology is so fundamentally relevant.
Why it matters in our day-to-day lives, how far it reaches across society,
Right.
and what really makes it unique as a way of understanding the world.
So we'll touch on what got us interested personally.
Yeah, our own journeys a bit.
We'll look at some bigger picture applications, globally even.
And we'll unpack a really concrete, everyday example to make it tangible.
Oh, good, yeah.
And maybe have a little fun with some common myths or ideas people have about psychology.
Light chuckle. Okay, I'm looking forward to that part.
By the end, the hope is you'll have a much clearer sense of why psychology isn't just, interesting, but actually pretty essential.
Okay, let's dive in then. Just to turn us off, what about your personal path? What first hooked you? Was there a specific moment or maybe a question that really sparked your curiosity about, well, us, about the mind?
That feels like the right place to start, yeah. For me, it honestly began really early. It wasn't a concept or a book initially. It was just watching people.
Just observing.
Yeah, pure observation. I've always been fascinated by people, not judging, just noticing the incredible variety in how we all move through the world. And I distinctly remember being a kid, witnessing two people experience the exact same event, same time, same place, everything identical externally.
Okay.
And their reactions were completely, utterly different. Polar opposites. One person found it genuinely funny, maybe laughed out loud. The other person, seeing the identical thing, became really angry, furious even, like they felt personally attacked or something.
Wow. Seeing that side by side as a kid, that must have been really striking.
It was totally baffling, but in a good way, It immediately planted this huge question in my mind. How is that possible?
Yeah.
They saw the same things, heard the same sounds. How could their internal experience, their feeling about it, be so drastically different?
Right. It wasn't just the event itself.
No, that was the realization even before I knew the word psychology. Reality isn't just this objective thing happening out there.
Yeah.
For each of us, it's filtered. It's constructed through our own internal lens, our history, our mood, our beliefs, how we interpret things.
That internal filter.
Exactly. And that interpretation is what drives the feeling, the action. So that initial curiosity, trying to understand the why behind those completely different takes on the same moment. That was the start for me. It felt like finding a hidden dimension to reality.
That idea of subjective reality.
Yeah.
It's huge, isn't it? Changes how you think about everything, like disagreements or misunderstandings.
Totally. It's not just about what happened, but how each person processed it internally.
Yeah.
And later on, that initial spark got reinforced. I remember reading a short story, not academic stuff, just a story.
Okay.
There was this character stuck in these self-defeating patterns, really struggling, and their breakthrough didn't come from anything changing externally.
Right.
It came from this single, elegant insight about their own motivation, a basic psychological idea about a fear they hadn't even realized was driving them.
Wow.
It's just a very human story,
Right.
relatable. It showed me that understanding even a small piece of your own inner workings, getting a bit of psychological literacy about yourself, it could literally change your path, unlock things you didn't know were possible. It made me see psychology wasn't just about fixing problems or clinical stuff.
Right, not just deficits.
Exactly. It was also about potential,
Yeah.
about growth, flourishing.
Yeah.
That really resonated, this idea of unlocking potential.
A story showing potential through understanding. I like that. My entry point felt maybe a bit more direct, more problem-focused at the start.
Oh, yeah. So?
I was in college, and I was facing this massive life decision, one of those crossroads that feels incredibly high stakes.
I know the feeling.
And I was just completely overwhelmed, stuck, couldn't decide, super anxious about it all, just looping thoughts. What if this? What if that?
Paralyzed by the options.
Totally.
Yeah.
And almost randomly, I needed an elective credit, so I signed up for a basic Psych 101 course.
So not something you were actively seeking out for answers.
Not at all. Pure chance. But sitting in those classes, reading the material, it was, wow, transformative. It didn't feel like dry theory. It felt incredibly relevant to the mess going on in my own head.
Right.
Learning about things like cognitive biases, that was huge.
Like the mental shortcuts our brains take.
Yeah. Understanding that our brains do these predictable things that can actually lead us wrong.
Yeah.
Or how just changing the way a choice is presented, the framing, can completely shift what we pick. Or confirmation bias, how we tend to look for stuff that proves what we already think.
Right. We filter for agreement.
It was just eye-opening. Honestly, it felt like someone handed me a map to this country, my own mind that I'd been living in my whole life, but never really understood the layout of.
That's a fantastic analogy, a map to your own mind. What else on that map felt like a key landmark for you back then?
Well, understanding decision-making itself, realizing it's not always this neat, rational process we imagine it to be.
No, definitely not.
Emotions play a huge role
Right.
in all sorts of subconscious things. And then, critically, learning about emotional regulation.
Ah, okay. Managing the feelings.
Yeah, but not suppressing them. More like understanding them. Where do they come from? How do they show up? And learning that there are actual research ways to manage intense feelings, to kind of ride the wave instead of being drowned by it, to influence your response over time.
So moving from feeling like emotions just happen to you to having a bit more agency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Agency, that's the word. It was so personally empowering. It gave me language, a framework to understand why I was getting stuck, why I was overthinking, why certain worries felt so sticky. It didn't make the big decision disappear, obviously, but it gave me tools, strategies, a new vocabulary for what was going on inside.
Right.
It genuinely felt like discovering a superpower. But not like a rare comic book thing, more like something everyone technically has, but maybe doesn't know how to access or use.
Yes. I love
That feeling of getting even a little bit more control, a bit more understanding of my own internal state. That was it for me. That was the hook.
That feeling of empowerment, that it's a tool everyone can potentially access, that's so vital, isn't it? It really is like getting a new lens to see yourself differently and also the world around you. And that leads us perfectly into thinking about just how broad the reach of psychology is.
Right, because it's easy to default to thinking it's just about therapy or mental health issues.
Exactly. Which is, of course, incredibly important work. But psychology's influence stretches so much further than the therapist's office. It's woven into, well, pretty much everything, often in ways we don't even notice.
It's true. Once you start looking, you see it everywhere. Think about big systems, global challenges. Psychology plays a role.
Definitely. Like education, for instance.
Yeah, education systems.
Yeah.
How do we design schools or teaching methods that actually work with how our brains learn best?
Right. Memory, attention, motivation.
How do we help students who are struggling? How do we create environments where everyone can learn effectively? That's all drawing heavily on educational psychology.
And maybe even more visibly on a global scale, public health.
Oh, absolutely.
Think about trying to get people to adopt healthier behaviors, vaccinations, stopping smoking, eating well, safe sex practices. Crafting campaigns that actually work requires a deep understanding of human behavior change. Why do we resist things that are good for us? What actually motivates change? How do we perceive risk? How do you make messages stick? Psychology provides the insights and the research to tackle those questions. It leads to much better, more effective interventions worldwide.
And you see it moving from public health right into the workplace, too.
For sure.
Creating workplaces that aren't just physically safe, but psychologically healthy, productive.
Yes. Understanding team dynamics.
What makes good leadership? What motivates people besides just a paycheck? How do you handle conflict well? How do you prevent burnout?
Fostering that positive culture.
All of that relies on applying psychological principles. Organizational psychology, industrial psychology. It's huge.
And then there are fields you might not immediately link, like sports psychology.
Right. Helping athletes handle pressure, stay focused, build mental resilience.
Recover from failures.
Yeah.
Or marketing and advertising. That's almost entirely built on consumer psychology.
Oh, totally. Understanding why we buy things, how brands affect us, the psychology of persuasion.
How our attitudes get shaped and changed. It's deeply embedded.
And even seemingly unrelated things, like how our physical surroundings affect us. Environmental psychology.
Yeah. How does the design of a building influence mood or interaction?
Does a cluttered desk actually make it harder to think?
Does having access to nature reduce stress? These are all questions psychology investigates. It shows how our environment shapes us internally and our behavior.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
And let's not forget the huge connection to just overall health.
Absolutely vital point. The World Health Organization, the WHO, they're very clear on this. Mental health isn't separate from physical health. It's an integral part. Cannot be separated.
Right. They're intertwined.
Yeah. And they have loads of reports showing how psychological help interventions can improve outcomes for physical conditions too.
Really? Like what?
Well, think about chronic stress or depression or anxiety. We know those can make things like heart disease or diabetes worse, or slow down recovery from surgery or illness.
Okay, that makes sense.
So conversely, using psychological tools to manage that stress or lift mood can actually help the body heal. It's a two-way street, a powerful mind-body connection.
And psychology gives us the evidence-based ways to understand and work with that connection.
Exactly.
So if we circle back to our big question for this deep dive, why is psychology important? The answer is just layered, isn't it?
It really is. It's vital for us as individuals, self-understanding, tools for living better. It's crucial for society, building better systems, better interactions.
Yeah.
And it's fundamental for global health because mind and body are one system.
And it covers that whole spectrum, right? Not just problems.
Precisely. I was looking at a review from the APA, the American Psychological Association, called something like Why Psychology Matters.
Okay.
And it made exactly that point. Psychology is essential because it helps us understand the entire range of human experience.
The whole thing.
Yeah. From the really tough stuff, mental illness, distress, all the way to the foundations of what makes life good. Happiness, resilience, flourishing, peak performance. It's not just about what breaks. It's just as much about what helps us thrive.
That spectrum from challenge to thriving,
Right.
that it feels key. Okay, so these big applications are important, but they can feel a bit abstract sometimes.
Sure.
Let's bring it down to earth, make it really concrete. You mentioned earlier seeing those two people react differently. Let's use a similar kind of everyday scenario, something that probably happens all the time in workplaces, maybe even families.
Okay, perfect. Let's imagine two colleagues. We'll call them Sarah and Tom.
Sarah and Tom, got it.
And both of them are getting some constructive criticism from their manager, maybe during a performance review.
Okay, relatable scenario for many people.
And let's assume the manager delivers the feedback, well, clear, calm, meant to be helpful. And the actual content of the feedback is identical for both Sarah and Tom. Same words.
Right. Same external stimulus again.
Exactly. Now, Sarah hears the feedback, maybe feels a little initial sting. Nobody loves criticism. No.
For natural reaction.
But pretty quickly, her internal processing kicks in. She appraises it. She thinks something like, okay, the specific info on how I can improve, useful data. It'll help me get better at my job.
Okay, so she sees it as helpful.
Yeah. She might ask questions to clarify, maybe take some notes. She feels perhaps a bit challenged, but maybe motivated too. She leaves that meeting thinking about how to actually use the feedback, sees it as a chance to grow.
Right. Positive learning-oriented response.
Exactly. Now, Tom, he gets the exact same feedback, same words, same tone, same manager.
Okay.
But his internal reaction is completely different. He immediately hears it not as feedback on his work, but as a personal attack.
Oof.
Like it's questioning his competence, maybe even his value. He feels defensive, threatened. Maybe he tenses up physically, heart rate goes up a bit. Internally, he might just shut down, stop really listening. His mind starts racing with excuses or reasons why the manager is wrong.
Right, building the defenses.
Yeah. He leaves the meeting feeling resentful, maybe angry, definitely undervalued, and probably thinking, there's no way I'm doing what they suggested. That was unfair.
Wow. Same words, totally different worlds inside their heads. And psychology helps us understand why that happened, why the huge difference.
That is exactly what psychology helps us unpack. It lets us look beneath the surface event. We can think about, say, their personality traits.
Okay. How so?
Well, maybe Sarah scores higher on something like openness to experience. She's just generally more receptive to new information, even if it's challenging. And maybe lower on neuroticism, so less likely to feel threatened by perceived criticism.
Right.
Tom, on the other hand, maybe he has a personality that's just more sensitive to potential threats or negative feedback. That could be a factor.
So basic individual differences.
Could play a role, yeah. Then we look at past experiences.
Their history.
Exactly. Maybe Sarah has had good experiences with feedback before, mentors who framed it supportively as part of learning. So she's learned to associate feedback with growth.
Makes sense.
Maybe his history is different. Maybe he's had experiences where feedback was harsh or unfair or delivered badly. So he's learned, as a kind of protective measure, to put up walls when criticism comes. It's a learned response based on his past.
So his past is shaping his present reaction.
Definitely. And then, critically, psychology looks at their cognitive appraisal in that moment. How are they interpreting the situation right now?
The meaning they make of it.
Yes. Sarah is appraising it as a challenge, maybe an opportunity. Tom is appraising it as a threat, a personal attack. That rapid, often unconscious interpretation dictates the whole emotional and behavioral cascade that follows.
Challenge versus threat. That's key.
Huge difference. Are you leaning in or backing away?
And that immediate internal interpretation, that appraisal, it has real-world consequences for them, doesn't it? Big time.
Oh, absolutely. Massive consequences. Think about the impact down the line.
Yeah.
For Sarah, her response being open, seeing it as a challenge, managing the initial feeling means she probably uses the feedback.
Right. Learns from it.
Which likely leads to her getting better at her job, developing new skills, probably having a better relationship with her manager who sees her taking it on board.
Could help her here.
Could definitely help her career. Now, Tom, his response, defensiveness, seeing it as a threat, feeling resentful means he likely ignores or dismisses valuable input.
Okay.
So maybe the performance issues continue. His relationship with his manager might get strained. He misses chances to develop. He feels more stressed at work. It could even impact his job security long term if things don't change.
Wow. So understanding these psychological factors isn't just academic.
Yeah.
It directly shapes their work life, their success, their stress levels.
Exactly. And here's the empowering part we talked about earlier. Through psychological insight, maybe working with a therapist or coach, or even just self-reflection using psychological principles, Tom could learn to respond differently.
He's not stuck.
Not necessarily. He could learn to notice and challenge that automatic threat appraisal. Techniques from cognitive behavioral therapy, for instance, help people identify those automatic negative thoughts and reframe them.
Okay. Catching the thought.
Yeah, catching it, examining it, maybe changing it. He could learn emotional regulation skills to handle that initial defensive surge so he can actually hear the feedback more clearly before reacting.
Create some space.
Exactly. So psychology doesn't just explain the why of the difference between Sarah and Tom. It also offers pathways for how Tom could develop more adaptive responses over time. Greater self-awareness leads to greater choice.
That brings us right back to that superpower idea, doesn't it? The potential for real change based on understanding. So this simple office example, which happens in countless ways every single day.
In families, friendships.
It really shows how deeply psychology impacts our quality of life, our decisions, our relationships, our success. It's operating constantly in these small moments.
It really is. And speaking of everyday stuff, sometimes the way the public thinks about psychology, well, it leads to some interesting, sometimes funny assumptions, right?
Chuckles. Oh, I know exactly what you mean. The classic, right? Someone finds out you're interested in psychology and they immediately go, oh, really? Are you analyzing me right now? What am I thinking?
Yes. With that slightly suspicious look, as if we have secret mind-reading abilities and are constantly diagnosing everyone around us.
Chuckles. Totally. Or the questions about everyday annoyances like, tell me psychologically, why do I always lose my keys just when I need to leave?
Right. As if there's a deep-seated childhood reason for misplacing keys rather than, maybe just being distracted or having a bad system.
Still chuckling. And my personal favorite was a friend at a party who seriously asked me, okay, explain this psychologically. Why does my cat just stare blankly at the wall for like 10 minutes straight?
Right.
Is it contemplating the void?
Wow. Feline existentialism.
Bless them. They're trying to apply this lens of understanding, which is great in spirit. But yeah, it shows the public image can be this mix of genuine curiosity and maybe slightly off-target expectations. They want an instant, deep psychological answer for everything, including the cat.
And you get the flip side too, right? The demand, impress me, say something psychological, tell me a secret about myself.
Yes, like we're mental magicians with shocking reveals ready to go.
It highlights that gap, doesn't it?
Yeah.
People are fascinated, but the actual methods, the scope, the science of psychology isn't always fully grasped. These funny questions often touch on real things. Psychology does study perception, memory, motivation, even animal behavior.
Sure.
But they frame it in a way that shows the difference between pop culture ideas and the actual discipline.
That gap, perception versus reality, it's actually a really good bridge to thinking about where psychology fits in the broader landscape of knowledge. It touches on so many other fields: biology, sociology, neuroscience, philosophy, economics. The list goes on. So what do you think is psychology's unique contribution? What does it bring that these other vital fields maybe don't capture in the same way?
That's a core question, I think, for understanding its real value. For me, the unique piece is its primary intense focus on the individual.
Okay. Zooming in on the person?
Exactly, on their internal world, the subjective experience, thoughts, feelings, beliefs, motivations, perceptions happening inside one person, and crucially, how that internal world interacts with the external world.
So the bridge between, say, society-level stuff and biological stuff.
I think that's a great way to put it. Sociology might look at broad societal patterns, group dynamics from a higher level.
Right, macro view.
And biology or neuroscience drills down into the physical brain, the neurons, the chemistry, micro view. Psychology often operates right at that interface. It's focused on the person living in the world, thinking, feeling, deciding, interacting. It centers the subjective experience and tries to understand the mechanisms driving individual behavior within all those contexts.
And it tries to study that incredibly complex, internal, often invisible world
Yes.
scientifically.
Yes, that's the other crucial part. It's a science. It's committed to using systematic methods, observation, experiments, data analysis, peer review to investigate the mind.
Which is hard, studying subjective things scientifically.
It's a huge challenge, but that commitment to applying scientific rigor to things like consciousness, emotion, belief, that's what makes it a distinct scientific discipline, not just philosophical speculation or, gut feelings.
So bringing science to the subjective, individual experience, what else feels unique?
Building on that, I think the emphasis on application is also really central.
Application for betterment.
Yes. While pure research, just understanding for understanding's sake, is vital, a huge chunk of psychology is fundamentally driven by the goal of using that knowledge to help people, to benefit individuals and society.
Right. It's not just abstract knowledge.
No. There's often a strong motivation to alleviate suffering, whether it's mental illness, trauma, or just everyday stress and challenges. And also to enhance well-being, to help people flourish, build resilience, find meaning, live more fulfilling lives. The goal is very often tied directly to promoting positive change.
So it's an applied science with a real humanistic drive behind it.
I think so. Look at how psychological principles get translated into real-world tools. Therapy techniques are a prime example. Things like cognitive behavioral therapy, psychodynamic approaches, humanistic therapies. They are direct applications of theories about learning, cognition, development, emotion, relationships, all designed to help people change thoughts, feelings, behaviors in ways that help them.
Right. Like we discussed with Tom, potentially learning new ways to handle feedback.
Exactly. But the application goes way beyond therapy. Designing better educational programs, creating safer, more motivating workplaces, developing public health messages that stick, informing policies on things like child development or criminal justice, even designing technology user interfaces on websites or apps to be intuitive because they're based on how our minds actually process information.
Wow, so the insights are constantly being put to work.
Constantly, to try and improve how we function, both individually and collectively, within the systems we create.
It really does feel like a field trying to understand the very core of being human and then using that understanding to try and make things, well, better on all sorts of scales.
That sums it up beautifully, I think. It's about understanding and it's about potential.
Well, this has been a really rich first deep dive into the why of psychology.
Yeah.
We've definitely only scratched the surface, haven't we?
Oh, absolutely. Just the beginning.
We've touched on our personal entry points, the huge global reach, made it concrete with Sarah and Tom.
Had a little chuckle about mind-reading cats.
Chuckles.
Right.
And tried to pin down what makes it unique as a science.
Hopefully it sparked some curiosity for you listening, maybe highlighted just how relevant this field is to your own life. Because once you start looking, you really do see it everywhere.
So as we kind of wrap this first one up, what are the main things we hope people take away? If there are just a few key insights about why psychology matters, what should they be?
Okay, 3 main takeaways maybe. First, psychology is incredibly universally relevant.
For everyone.
Yes, it's not some niche thing. It's about the operating system of being human, how we think, feel, decide, connect. Getting a handle on some basic principles can genuinely improve your self-awareness, your choices, your relationships, your work. It's a toolkit for life.
A universal toolkit.
Okay.
Good one. Second,
Remember it's a science. Even though it tackles really complex, sometimes fuzzy-seeming topics like emotions or consciousness, it approaches them with rigor. Research methods, evidence, data, testing ideas systematically. It's not just opinions or anecdotes, and we'll definitely dig more into the how we know what we know part in future deep dives.
Okay, so relevant and a science. Got it. Third takeaway.
And third, building on those, psychology is empowering.
How so?
By giving you insights into the why you feel a certain way, why you fall into patterns, the biases that might be influencing you. It gives you the understanding you need to potentially make different choices.
Okay. Understanding creates options.
Exactly. It offers strategies, pathways for growth, for building resilience, for functioning better. It gives you back a sense of agency, some conscious control over your internal world and how you navigate the external one.
That sense of agency, of having tools for growth,
Yeah.
that feels like maybe the most powerful piece for everyday life.
I think it might be.
Well, this feels like a fantastic launch pad for this series of deep dives. We've set the stage, explored the why, and honestly, there's just so much more fascinating ground to cover.
So much. Memory, how we perceive the world, why we conform, what motivates us. Endless fascinating topics.
We're really excited for this journey, and we genuinely want it to be a conversation with you who are listening.
Absolutely. Your experiences, your questions, they're a huge part of this. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, what's your connection to psychology? Has it ever given you one of those aha moments about yourself or someone else?
Or what topics about the mind are you most curious about? What should we tackle next? Let us know. You can find us on mentioned platform, e.g. our website comments, our social media page. We really want to build a community around exploring this stuff together.
Definitely. And before we sign off, here's a little something to chew on, maybe.
Ooh, okay.
If our perception of reality is subjective, like you said, filtered through our own minds, what's one assumption you might be making right now about a situation or maybe a person that a psychological lens could help you question or see differently?
That's a good one. A takeaway challenge.
Just a thought to carry with you.
Well, thank you all so much for tuning in to this first deep dive in our exploration of the mind. We are really looking forward to continuing this journey of discovery with you.
We are. And hey, make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss a single step on this adventure. Think of it like unlocking new levels in the most complex, fascinating game ever invented, the human mind. Until next time, stay curious.
Please subscribe us for more podcasts. Have a good day.